All right, so today we're having the Foundry, and our topic of discussion is incels,
Yes.
involuntary celibates.
Should we read off the definition of an incel?
I mean, you can. I think most people who've been like reading the news and the memes, they know it's like some guy who wants to get laid but can't get laid.
Pretty
That's
much.
pretty much it's involuntary celibate's a pretty, you can look up the definitions of both those words, you can get to the conclusion. So this is an issue that started to go and become a talking point recently, and I think this is probably an issue that was it really started off with the Supreme gentleman, that guy in California. I
Elliot
don't even want to call him
I'm not gonna say
right.
his name.
Elliot. I think everyone knows who he is. I mean, Elliot Rogers, or we all know who he
Yeah,
is.
we'll call him Elliot.
Everyone knows who he is. Like
Yeah.
it's his name's been out there. You go onto like any of these like Wizard Chan places and you'll find him. But basically, he went over and he got really pissed off that girls couldn't date him. I think he was, what was he, like autistic or something, like severely like the bad autism, not like your Albert Einstein autism. He was like, he was bad.
He was off
But
the spectrum.
well, yeah, like even Albert Einstein, he was like a player apparently. He like
Really?
married some girl and then like he ended up divorcing her for his cousin or something.
What?
Yeah, yeah, you can look that up. He like married like one of his like second cousins or something like that, and he divorced his wife and he made her like sign this whole list of agreements, and it was really like, yeah, really stupid. But anyways, so this involuntary celibate issue, what we have here is we get these guys who are afraid. They're you can have like just a lot of people under this incel umbrella, and it's become an issue because these people they feel entitled to have sex.
Yep.
I mean, I guess perhaps that could have been an issue due to the prevalence in the media. Like you see sex everywhere. It's like, oh, I'm a feminist, I can have sex.
Mm.
That's been like a meme. Everyone's talking about sex, 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 and these guys can't get it, so they get all pissed off. And these people, they get all this rage. But I think what really caused it, you see these people who don't know how to go and talk to people. They go and sit, and I've seen several of these sorts of people, and I think like a lot of media goes and demonizes them. It's like, oh, you could be hiring an involuntary cell, but I think it's more like it's almost like a mental disorder because I've seen these people, and they'll go and like play video games all day. A lot of them don't even like do drugs or anything. They just sit at home, they play video games, they might like drink Mountain Dew, and they don't really have much of a social life. Maybe they have like friends on like Steam or Xbox or whatever, and they go onto the internet. And they'll go on the message boards. They go on like their 4chans, their 8chans. They had this place called Wizard Chan back in the day, and the only way you could get on there is if like you get banned if you were found to have sex, if you lost your virginity, and you get kicked off there because it was incels.
Mm-hmm.
It was like incel chan. They called it wizard chan because there was this meme back in the day that if you grew to like age 27 or 28 or 30, I don't know what the heck the age was, but if you didn't have sex for that long, you gain magic powers. But
What?
instead of, yeah, it's pretty bad. But now it's like twisted. So if you go to like age 20 and you don't have sex, instead of growing magic powers, you just become a mass shooter. That seems to be the way that at least the media is portraying it. I
Yeah.
imagine there's probably a lot of incels, then you only see probably, like a very, very small percentage actually becoming these sorts of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting too because you don't see them like raping people. I think what happens with these
Mm.
incels, you'd think that they'd be doing that.
No, I think they're too soy
Yeah,
to be raping.
they're very low energy. I think that's part of the issue. They're very low energy. I'm not saying they should. They absolutely shouldn't.
Yeah,
But
rape is terrible. They should not rape.
but which is worse, raping or shooting up a school?
Oh, both are bad. Let's try not to do both. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but like, I think, yeah, you make a good point, which is, I guess, probably good that these people aren't raping people, but they're still like. So I imagine probably a lot of these people, like 100 years ago, if we'd have these involuntary celibates, they'd probably be like rapists or something. But
Yep.
these days they just go around and they go on these boards. They get very fat. Some of them they see on the news, like that Elliot Rodgers guy wasn't fat, but he had some mental problems. He had a very terrible family life, and that's another problem too. I imagine these people, their parents don't really give a crap about them. I think, like, if you were a dad and you see this kid, he's just like, eating Cheetos all day and drinking Mountain Dew and playing Halo or I don't know, or PUBG, and he's just like, becoming a couch potato. Basically becoming an antisocial couch potato. And they have another term too, NEAT. Not educated.
Oh my God, yes.
Not educated something or training.
Yeah.
Not educated employed or training.
That's an old meme.
These people are leeches on society, and America's not the only people with, or we're not the only society with this. You see this in Europe, obviously. I don't think in Africa, because people, they just kind of have a lot of sex in Africa. And that's why we see AIDS rates so high. But no, I think it's more of a first world problem that we have in Japan. They have a really big issue with this. They have a different term, though. Instead of incels, they have a term. It's like hikikomori. And it's basically the same thing. You get these like people, they just drop out of school and social settings, and they go into their rooms and they watch like anime all day, and they buy the body pillows.
Oh my God.
And this is the thing, you can look this up. They even have like a Wikipedia article on this. I don't know how to really spell it, but basically like just they isolate themselves and they do nothing, but they live in these fantasy worlds. And I think a lot of these guys, they don't really, they're very low testosterone. I imagine that's probably part of it, because and they're probably like, either ugly, some of these people, they just can't get a girl. So you have a lot of people under that umbrella. You can have people with like disabilities, but right now we keep seeing people with like relatively non-visible disorders. But I imagine there's probably a lot of incels who are wheelchair bound. I know what was it? The guy who used to own 8chan, I forget what his name was, Hot Wheels, whatever his name was, he at one point in time was an incel, but then he like released this on a blog years ago. I used to go and browse 8chan, like at least this was back during Gamergate, and that was the place, because 4chan and like Reddit and everything just started banning these discussions. But Hot Wheels, he used to be like an admin on Wizard-chan, but then he got banned because he ended up like in this. And he had like a really severe, I don't know if you ever seen that guy, Frederick Brennan. He had a really severe disorder. He was like dwarfism, and he like severe, and he was in a wheelchair. And even he could have sex. Let's go put that in perspective.
Yeah, if he can, any of you listeners can.
I mean, like, unless you have something like just severe, but there's always girls out there. Like, I mean, come on, they have online dating these days. But I think at least he had his own house. Like, you could probably be like severely disabled, crippled, just stupid. But if you have your own house, you can still probably get, at least a transient. But these people, they live with their parents generally. And I think that's another issue. Yeah, the parents, they don't get involved. When you see your child is not performing like their age should, you're seeing them not going to school, dropping out of school, not getting any job. Maybe they're working like fast food or something, entry level. They don't have any career, but they don't have any goals. I think it centers around that. If you don't have goals, it's easy these days to go and fall into this sort of trap, especially, because if you don't have like any major aspirations to get a girl, or like it's not like a super big deal. But these people, they do want to get a girl, but they don't really want to work to get a girl. They don't want to go to the gym. They expect girls to just like them. And I think this is part of the culture which we have these days. And there's these guys, they feel entitled, like, oh, you get your little trophy. Oh, I want to get a woman who will be my sex slave. And I think that a lot of this, a lot of these people, they just They just don't have the motivation. I don't think these people are evil. Like the people who did the shooting, obviously they're evil. They're deranged. I think they're more mentally ill. They get stuck in a rut. And I think, to solve this issue, it's a multifaceted problem. I mean, they need to have motivation. I think what they really need though is like a rehab. Like
Incel rehab, make it a thing.
Well, I think they do. They need something to rehabilitate them, because if they're on this track, they're going to be a societal net negative for their whole life, and especially if they end up committing atrocities, like significantly negative. That's definitely something to be considered. We have rehab for alcoholics, and I think these people probably need rehab. I don't think they need to be like shunned, because they're already shunned. No one really likes them already, and now the media is trying to go after these people who, the people who did the shootings, they deserve to be gone after. But there's, for every one that you see shooting, there's probably a worldwide population, there's probably at least 1 million of these sorts of people. Well, probably mostly in Japan, but they do have a decent bit, and that's probably because of their incredibly difficult school standards, and the fact that women, there's some really weird problems with women over there, and China too. That's going to be a major issue, because there's I think there's 1 girl for every 5 guys or something in China. It's some really skewed, or at least in the new generation, because of the one-child policy and cultural preferences towards male children. I think that's going to become an issue where China, between China and Japan, there's going to be a significant amount of incels in the future, just because there's not going to be that many women, especially Asian women. I mean, they could go and get others, but they don't really prefer that generally. From what I've understood, they especially Chinese tend to like Chinese women. That's at least what I found. They're surprisingly racist. I don't even want to say racist. They just have preferences towards their own race. From what I understand, from the ones I've met. I mean,
I think what we're getting to here is that the core of the problem, no matter what country, of creating incels is culture. In Japan, China, you have this culture of extremely high standards, where if you don't get all A's, you're a failure and a disgrace to the family, and you should kill yourself. And some of them literally do. In America, we have this culture, especially recently, where it's rape, it's assault, it's harassment if you buy a girl a drink, it's toxic masculinity if you touch a girl slightly wrong or by accident. It's this sort of man-hating culture created by feminists is now having its equal and opposite reaction of now women-hating culture by incels, and that's not productive. That's dividing people and driving the losers of society, the incels, the people that are not too good looking, don't have any confidence, that play video games and don't really didn't do good in school. They're now finding these online forums like 8chan and 4chan, all these other multimedia avenues to vent their hate and find people like them and sort of become more of an incel for that matter. And the best thing really to do is you need confidence. You need to get your confidence. I mean, I'm someone that struggles with confidence. I'll come out and say it. And I know it's hard, but it's something you need to do, because if you don't have confidence in anything, you're not going to achieve anything in life.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's also interesting that you see this in Asia particularly. You see this in most America right now, probably going to be a little bit more in Western Europe. But you guess where you don't see this? You don't see this in Africa. You don't see this in South America. And I think, this might have something to go and do with testosterone levels, because, I think I read somewhere that if you're black, there's you have more testosterone than a white guy generally, and Asian people generally have less. Now that could be, I have to go and double check those sources, but it would make sense given what I've seen. Japan has a huge problem with this, and in Europe it's a very interesting situation, because they're having historically low birth rates, and there's all these incels out there. And then they're getting these migrants in there, and they claim to go and that's necessary to go increase the birth rates. So what we're having now is, these potentially we could have these migrant, people coming over and taking the women from these beta men.
Yeah.
And then they feel upset.
The beta
and
gets
then,
cucked.
Yeah, he gets cucked, and then he ends up getting feels just really terrible. He goes to these forums, and it's just like it's like especially with like straight white men and like straight Asian men, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because what was it? The Elliot, the Supreme Gentleman. He was, from what I understand, he was mixed race, half Asian and half white, which that could also play in there in terms of like alienation, I suppose. Or just in general, like low testosterone level. That could be a factor in this incel problem. And so the ways you can fix this, obviously, rehabilitation would be necessary. Bringing back, I have a feeling that like you see a lot of these people, they grow up without dads. They don't have proper male role models. I think that's important. Proper family structure, that would be necessary. A lot of these people, they stop with the video games. I think like at least lower the amount that people are playing.
Talk to people. I think phones are part of the cancer too. There was a great video released today by Paul Joseph Watson about the incel problem, and he always rants about people are spending too much time on their phones. And that was one thing he brought up in his video was that stop talking to I don't want to say fake people, but digital people. Start going out in the real world and interacting with people. I mean, I've noticed that with people our age, that are, Gen Z and even millennials too, that they don't know because they spend so much time inside talking to people online. They don't know how to talk to people offline, IRL. It's like they've become socially, handicapped. And I think we drilled down the problem to basically, all these cultural factors, but solution-wise, you start to name a few, so I'll let you continue with that. Like, what are the solutions? What can we do to fix the bad family structures, the man-hating culture, the sort of, addiction to technology?
Well, here's another solution too. That I don't know how this would work, but I haven't really heard of any like major incels in like Norway, and it's probably why you don't hear about that.
Europe doesn't have many that I know of.
And that might be because they have legalized prostitution in most of Europe.
Yes.
Now think about it. It's hard to be involuntarily celibate when you can go down the street, pay a couple $100, and get your freak on. And in America, there's like Nevada, and that's about it. And I mean, you used to have like Craigslist, but now you can't even do that. Like,
I wonder if Nevada has a low incel population.
I have a low population in general.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a desert.
I don't think they're as big, like at least the violent, like the radical incels. I don't think it's as big of a problem as people would imagine. But I imagine, that as much as I disagree with prostitution, I think that might be able to go and lower the amount of people who are involuntarily celibate.
I think it should be legal. I think it should totally be legal.
That might help that issue.
Legal but regulated.
Yeah, they could. That would be an interesting. That'd be interesting how that plays out. I'd like to go and see some more data on that, but I just don't know how big of a problem incels actually are. It just seems like the media buzzword of the minute.
Yeah, well, I was looking this up on Wikipedia, and the radical self-identified incels that have committed mass murders, there are 4 of them, and this has happened over the past 4 years. The Elliot in 2014, a guy in 2015, someone in 2017, and someone in 2018, and now they don't have it on this list, but he's not self-identified incel, but he's basically one. The guy at the Santa Fe school shooting, which ties back into our last Foundry episode. So that would be a total of 5 incel murders. And
well, the thing with that, here's another. I don't even know if he strikes. I saw like pictures of him with like a rainbow sticker on him.
Oh, the bisexual thing on his head.
But maybe I don't know if he's bisexual or
well,
not.
He also had a Nazi symbol and a communist symbol. But it's kind of like,
I don't know if he's necessarily incel, because from what I understand, the girl just turned him down. That didn't mean that every girl turned him
But
down.
I think he killed that girl, turned him down.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a different issue too. You just have people who aren't even necessarily incels, who are just who feel entitled.
It's a big umbrella, Alex.
Well, yeah, this could be an entitlement problem, and in general, that's a problem with our generation. And to stop that, obviously, we need to go and stop giving out the handout trophies. That's an easy
Yeah.
way to stop that. Maybe get people interested in things other than like video games. Just like, if you're a parent, just if you're like, just probably stop giving your kids video games. Like, either stop giving the kids video games or severely limit those, limit how much time they get on there. Limit the commute. Watch what your kids are doing on the internet. I know my parents, they didn't really, once I was like 13, I kind of couldn't have at it. But it was a lot harder. Like, I never really did anything too bad. I played like RuneScape, and that was about it.
I know that sounds pretty bad, Alex.
But like, but then again, I was like on 4chan when I was in like middle school. So
Jesus.
but these days it's very easy to go into to get led astray. Like, I just can't imagine these kids. I see like little children, their parents just throw them the YouTube. No, they need to go and have human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have both parents in the household. They need to have family dinners together. They need fathers and mothers who can give kids the talk. My parents never gave me the talk. The birds
I didn't get.
That's that's a big deal, because then you can go and talk about stuff like you're not entitled to have sex with women.
Yeah.
Because apparently people think they are. That's a major issue. They feel that like they don't have to go and try, and then they can get these like beautiful girls, and it's just depressing. And they need to get men who just do masculine things. Like, people keep complaining about toxic masculinity, but that's a false statement.
It's a false
What
hologram.
What they really mean by that is they're masculine in general, and they have a problem with any sort of masculinity, and that's the problem. We need to go and have positive masculinity. That's not this like female cucked up, this sort of concept but like you can't have stuff like this either. We had like positive male role models in the past, but just like look at the television. Go look at Family Guy. Peter's an idiot. He's always right. Same thing with The Simpsons. Like I did watch what was The Last Man Standing. I was at the gym, and that was
that's with Tim Allen.
Yeah, it was actually really good, because like the father over there wasn't a complete dummy.
Yeah, he's a non-PC conservative, which he is in real life too. And they're bringing that show back. It got like canceled after Tim Allen said some like, "Oh, I attended Trump's inauguration." Boop, the show got canceled. Strange coincidence, but now his show is back and renewed.
Yeah, like we need to go and have male role models who are, at least if you're going to have your kids be watching television, which I guess they're going to be doing anyways, but like definitely limit those things. I think electronics in general, I don't think those should be given to kids. That increases, getting screwed up eyes when you're a child. Look how many people are wearing glasses these days.
I'm one of them, but I wear contacts.
I don't know how I still have decent enough vision, but I never needed glasses. Even at like work, I try to go and get up and look outside every once in a while, take walks.
Yeah.
You have people who, just kids need to get away from the cyberspace.
Yeah. One thing I found so relaxing and rejuvenating is, and I'm one that loves music. I love music. I play it a lot, but go on a walk in nature and don't have any music or anything. Just listen to the noises and the sounds and let it sink in, and you start to hear things you didn't hear before. It's a very spiritual and soothing and calm experience. I just recommend everybody do that. It's so simple. You don't need anything to do it, and I think it helps your mental health. I mean, I think the big problem here is mental health. I mean, obviously you're going to have your radicals that actually pick up their AR-15s and go out and perform GTA IRL, but for most people it's just that you have depressing times, you're going through puberty, you're going through all these rough times, especially as a young man, and our culture seems to almost not try to understand that anymore. especially from the left, which always preaches tolerance and understanding, and never really want to seem to understand what men are going through at such a young and troubling time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I really did like, and it was a combination of cell phones and the real world. Like back when Pokemon Go was a thing, like for a week, or it was like 2 weeks when that
Yeah,
was popular. That was the first time I went out. I'd go and walk the dog, and that was like the first time I actually saw like kids,
yeah.
like loads of kids going outside and talking to each other. Like
Such
I
a
remember sitting
radical
out.
idea, isn't it?
I know, and like I remember sitting out at the YMCA, and there's like two guys, and I just started talking to them. I've never seen them before, and we had conversations at like midnight, just like sitting over there catching Pokemon. Like I like if we're gonna have this technology, we ought to go and use it for good. And getting people out, getting people to go and meet their neighbors. Like shoot, there's neighbors like I haven't seen in years. Like I've never even seen them at all in the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
like getting a dog too, that helped. Just getting you out because the dog, especially my dog, he was very people friendly dog. But just like it's insane that you have these neighbors that live over there and I've never met.
Oh yeah, I have
And
neighbors I haven't met. I don't even talk to I don't even remember the last time I talked to my neighbors. It must have been years ago.
I think that's a problem too. Like neighbors don't even talk to each other. Like you might have like one or two neighbor friends, but like I don't even know who the heck's in the neighborhood. I barely know the people out over in my current abode. I don't think many people like really talk to their neighbors anymore unless you're in
Yeah.
like some really like sticks place. But people just don't like there's a lack of trust in society and that's what causes people to go into their
Hmm.
own shells and then they get radicalized because if you don't go outside, how are you going to meet girls?
Yeah, how you gonna meet girls? How you gonna be exposed to different ideas? How you gonna be exposed to other people? Yeah, you don't make girls by, see, here's the joke. You kind of can meet girls, on the internet now, but you really can't meet them and have sex with them because you are
Oh,
trapped.
you have to meet them at. I mean, you can. I mean, I've used like dating websites before, and I don't know how these like people remain incels. I mean, it's so easy these days to have sex. Like, just don't use Tinder, but there are these other websites. I'm not going to mention them, but like these other apps on your phone, and you can just go on and find on there. And if you have a low enough standards, you can find someone. And I'm not a particularly physically appealing man, and I've found tons of girls online and I've never. And this isn't even like Craigslist, like that. Obviously that you
They
can't use
shut
that
that
anymore.
down.
They shut that, and you see some
Probably a good
pretty bizarre
thing.
stuff. I used to go and like look through there just to go and see the crazy stuff people
Oh,
would.
it's cringe.
It was just some of the most disgusting filth you could think of. It was hilarious though.
Yeah, it was.
But the thing is, people need to go and have social interactions. They need to go outside. They need to meet their neighbors. Neighbors, the neighbors don't seem concerned anymore. It's like a lot of these cases, you have these like crazies out there, these school shooters, these like rapists, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's weird, but I didn't say anything."
Yeah.
Like the power of the community is just gone. Like
Yep.
what happened to those days where you could go and like do something about if you had like a crazy neighbor, you could go and like go and tell the police. These days, like, oh, not my problem. It's not in my house, and I just stay in my house all day anyways. And,
Yeah.
people just don't know each other. They don't care about each other. There's a lack of community. It's like we have the family now, and even then, that's starting to get eroded by these smartphones. Like I've seen, like millennials and stuff. They'll be at the dinner table and they'll be playing on. They'll be like looking at the Snapchat and stuff on their smartphones with their parents. Like, parents need to go and take that away. When if and when I have kids, that's not going to be no, they're not going to be using technology at the table. I'm going to severely limit the technology that they do use in general. I think there's a use in books, there's a use in study, and you can go and learn in different ways too. And I feel that schools, they probably also have something to do with this because kids, everything's so like strict in the schools. Oh, you can't, people sexual harassment, oh this and oh that, and like if you hand like a girl these days like a love note, I imagine that would probably get you like written up.
Yeah. Oh
You-
yeah. Yeah, there's too much structure. We've come to the point where You got to be bubble wrapped at a university, so you're not exposed to ideas that might be, I don't know, harmful. But it's like they don't. It's hard to put into words because it's gotten so ridiculous. Like it literally is now to the point where they want to protect you from things you don't like, and it comes to a point where they're structuring you to be a certain conformist way. I'm all for individualism and all for thinking the way you gotta think and how you want to, but at the same time, you need to be able to be in a group and to, the sort of, like, not really it takes a village to raise a child sort of slogan, but kind of something like that where you do need a sense of community. You need to talk to people. You need to have social interactions. And, I guess technology can actually kind of help with that, as we saw with Pokemon Go, but people need to find a new way of interacting in real life.
Yeah, like I think that stuff like Pokemon Go, if they actually made it decent and like maybe not even have it be Pokemon, have it be something else.
Yeah, it could be
And,
something else.
like, something else to get people to go outside,
Yeah.
to go and, like, at least for now. Then maybe we could go and establish some sort of like reestablishing community trust. But basically, I think, and the media is going about it the entire wrong way. It's like it's a witch hunt against these people. I think this sort of disorder of what you'd consider like an incel, like the radical incel, I think that's a mental disorder. It needs to be recognized as such. These people, they're already called all sorts of things at school and by everyone they know. I don't think stigmatizing them even more is good. I think they need to seek mental help. They need to have rehabilitation facilities that get people back into the real world. And that'd be an interesting concept. Just like teach them skills, because a lot of these people that go to a lot of them are in college. I know, I've seen a few of them. They go to college and they get super isolated. So I think a way to go and prevent that, that you have these sort of support groups and like these rehabs. They go over there, they learn how to do a skill, they learn how to go and like do all these life skills their parents never taught them. For the future generations, I'd have parents. They need to go and teach their kids how to do this. Maybe have some way, like the schools. That's not their responsibility. The parents are responsible for this.
Yeah.
Maybe even like pursue neglect if your child can't do basic things. But no, that seems a little bit too harsh. I don't know. Like there needs to be a culture shift somehow to get parents to do their jobs again. Make parenting great again. I think.
Yes.
Have them actually teach kids life skills.
Make parents again. Like they don't do their job.
They expect the government subsidized schools to do everything. They expect the schools to discipline them, but when they discipline them too hard, they'll go and sue the schools.
Yeah.
Motherhood, I imagine, is a part to play in this. Just the sort of like alienation of the father, even within married couples. Like a lot of fathers, they just they feel like they can't do anything. They just go to work all the time. It's like, oh, he's a good father, he provides. No, there's more to being a father than being a paycheck.
Yes.
That's why there's so much divorce and whatnot in this country, is because people, they see fathers as this disposable male, as this sort of paycheck generator, as this that's why you see them, because like, you see these single mothers, because basically if all the fathers are a paycheck, the government can do that. Like they need to be more than a paycheck. They need to be
a teacher.
They need to be a teacher. They need to be the person, a mentor to the children, a positive role model. And sometimes they have to go and work hard, but they need to go and be there to go and teach the children culture, heritage, and all the stuff. How to tie a tie, how to go and like be a good man.
Yeah.
And that's what's not being taught right now, and that needs to change. So just to go and roll this out, we need to go and have, rehabilitation. We need to have, like, for these people, treat it as mental illness, not as a character, flaw. We need to go and, bring the family back together, take away the electronics so much, get people away from this sort of this sort of like mindset where they're entitled. This entitlement mindset needs to go away,
We need
And
to bring confidence back to inspire confidence in men.
confidence. We need to get away from this idea that all masculinity is toxic masculinity, and maybe even think about doing the European solution and possibly looking into legalizing some form of
Prostitution.
prostitution. As much as I hate to say that, but I think to a certain extent that might be able to mitigate some of the problems for the people who will never be able to get a regular girlfriend. I'm talking about like the severely disabled people.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a depressing situation, and I think we can figure it out. It's just we need a major cultural shift. And I think you could kind of see that coming with Gen Z being this sort of anti-feminist, toxic masculinity, feminist narrative that they keep pushing. Like, you're seeing a sort of a shift, but we need to keep talking about it because this is not an issue that's talked about enough. I think you and I can both agree with that. It's sort of just this, it's now becoming a meme. But other than that, and that's the one good thing about the meme is hopefully the meme raises awareness, Like, that might be a modern form of awareness. It's like a meme.
Well, it's not just the incels. It's the just the hopelessness, just like the lostness, the lack of goals in this generation, just the sort of like soullessness of the youth.
Yeah.
They don't know what the heck they want to do. They're adults, but they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. They're already grown up. I think that's a whole nother topic though that we could discuss at a future date. Some of the other sort of ways that can be dealt with. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time we have a session on the Foundry.